Hello and welcome to Restoration DIY. In this episode I'll be turning a simple maple bowl, a change of pace from my usual resin projects, so let's get into it. This piece of maple has been hanging around for a while, so it was time to put it to good use. I started by cutting the corners off on the bandsaw, then I drilled an 8mm hole for the woodworm screw. After securing the blank to the chuck using a tailstock for some added support, I got straight into turning. Beginning with the 3/8 bowl gouge, I had to get the piece to round, then I could begin shaping. I recently invested in a new sharpening system. I decided to buy the Robert Sorby Pro Edge. This is a big improvement over my previous sharpening setup. Though I'm still learning how best to use it, the results are much better and more consistent. With a freshly sharpened gouge, I had no problem cutting away the waste material. With each pass, the shavings peeled off the end of the gouge, leaving behind a very smooth surface. Once I had the rim down to round with all the bark removed, I turned my attention to the base and the lower section. I toyed with the idea of leaving some of the bark inclusions on the finished piece, but in the end, I thought it would look better without. At a certain angle, I was really struggling with the cuts on the right-hand bevel of the gouge, and on closer inspection I could see that there was the tiniest flat spot, about 1/4 of an inch from the tip. And of course, this was just not cutting anything. It just required a quick touch up on the Pro Edge and all was good. I had a go with a large negative rate scraper, but it wasn't cutting very well and was creating some tear out, so I switched back to the gouge. Going back to the gouge, I had a go at a few more push cuts, shaping the side of the bowl into the base, and I also took some very light passes to get rid of the tear out left by the scraper. After a few more light passes, I reduced the size of the foot to better suit the size of the bowl. Then using a skew chisel, I set to fine-tuning the overall shape, blending and fairing the surfaces. The skew chisel did a great job removing fine wisps of material. This had also just been resharpened on the Pro Edge, and the results speak for themselves. After a few final passes, I moved on to forming the mortise in the base. For this, I used a 1/4 inch parting tool to define the outer diameter, then the gouge to remove the last of the inner material, but the foot needed to be reduced in height, so with that done, I repeated the process, then I used a skew chisel to finish it off. So with the mortise cut, I sanded from 80 to 400 grit. Once sanded, I cleaned down with denatured alcohol, which I followed up with sanding sealer, one coat, which I de-nibbed with a non-abrasive Scotch pad. Then Yorkshire grit, a single application, cleaned away until no more residue comes away on the paper towel. And to finish, chestnut wood wax 22, 2 coats, polished off to leave a deep lustre. So with the outside finished, I removed the workpiece from the chuck, then I had to change the jaws to fit the smaller mortise on the base of the bowl, and with that done, I could start hollowing out. Now I'm fairly sure I didn't need to use the tailstock, but better safe than sorry. I started removing material with a 3/8 bowl gouge, and soon enough I needed to get better access, so with the tailstock removed, I swiftly worked my way down to the required depth. I was aiming for a wall thickness of around 1/4 of an inch or 6mm. There really isn't much to say about the next few clips. Clearing the waste material out was a straightforward process. The 3/8 bowl gouge did most of the work, up to the final finishing cuts, and for this, I used a large negative rake scraper. With the waste removed and the surface blended and faired with a scraper, it was time for sanding from 80 to 400 grit. Then a good clean down with denatured alcohol, followed with a good application of sanding sealer, which I de-nibbed with a non-abrasive Scotch pad. Then Yorkshire grit, one application, thoroughly cleaned away with paper towel. And to finish, Wood Wax 22. 2 coats, polished off with clean paper towel, making sure to repolish the outside as well. There we go, another project finished. This was a simple one to do, and actually a replacement for what I had hoped to publish this week. That other one will have to wait for another day. But nonetheless, I hope you enjoyed it, and I would like to thank you for watching. If I could ask you to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and comments are always welcome. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye for now.